On June 5, 1944, Ken Garrett, a member of the Canadian Navy, received the surprising news that in a few hours he would be shipped to the Normandy coast. An officer told us this: "Tomorrow is D-Day. So today you are not allowed to leave the barracks." I have the honor to inform you that we have been chosen to be at the forefront of the invasion. We will be the spearhead of the operation. At that moment, I had a horrible feeling that the next day we would all be dead. I felt my stomach close. It was one of the most unpleasant sensations of my life. Garrett's testimony is a sample of what many of those chosen to participate in the Normandy Landings thought. Operation Overlord, as it was dubbed by the military commanders, was the largest maritime invasion in history, and thanks to it the Allies managed to penetrate continental Europe. Thus they began to liberate the territory from the clutches of the Nazis, marking the last episodes of the Second World War. However, for the common soldiers who carried out the operation, D-Day was not a perfectly executed master plan, but a chaotic hell full of death and destruction. The troop was heading towards a storm of bullets, with little certainty of surviving the contest. Today, in this new episode of Military History, we will show you D-Day through the most impressive testimonies of its participants. Operation Overlord began in May 1943 at a diplomatic meeting in Washington. There, the American and British governments agreed to liberate Europe from the Third Reich, and for this they chose to land in Normandy, northwest of France. As part of the preparations, the Allies launched an intense campaign of disinformation and deception to mislead the Nazis. The Germans were not sure of the date and place where the landing would take place. The Normandy coast was divided into different sectors with code names, Utah and Omaha being the ones that the Americans had to take. The English, for their part, had the mission of occupying the gold and sword sectors, and the Canadians had to conquer Juneau. When Operation Overlord began, 5,000 ships set sail from Great Britain, crossing the English Channel towards France. The ships carried thousands of men, tanks, artillery pieces, vehicles, and supplies. All the men had read the message from General Dwight Eisenhower, commander of the expedition, which read as follows: "You are about to embark on the Great Crusade, towards our greatest objective. The eyes of the world are on you, the hopes of all who love freedom travel with you. Together with our Allied brothers, we will destroy the German war machine, we will eliminate the Nazi tyranny that oppresses the peoples of Europe, and we will guarantee the safety of the free world." Although there was enthusiasm among the troops, there was also fear and insecurity, as the testimony at the beginning of this video shows. The sea voyage was also not helping to reassure the soldiers, who were seasick from the rolling of the ships. Bob Slaughter, a member of the U.S. 116th Infantry Regiment, recalls the journey this way: "It was cold, the wind was blowing, and we were wet and shivering. I got really sick and threw up in my helmet over and over again. That's how I got through the ride." Towards dawn the ships sighted the Normandy coast, where the Germans had prepared a hellish welcome. The banks were littered with metal anti-tank obstacles, mines, wooden stakes, barbed wire, and all kinds of booby traps. The Wehrmacht men waited in bunkers and concrete nests, firing their machine guns, mortars, and cannons. From one second to the next, the siege had turned into a nightmare, men being shot by the dozens, blown to pieces when they stepped on a bomb. And those who didn't die could barely hear the orders of their officers over the roar of the guns. Let's take a look at some of the most chilling testimonials from the battle. Sergeant Richard Herklotz remembers it this way: "As we got closer to the beach, we saw the dead and wounded floating in the water like garbage in the harbor. There were strewn provisions, soldiers, sailors. It was a desolate sight. During the following hours we watched as the tide carried pieces of boat and corpses towards us." Russell Stover, of the U.S. 116th Infantry Regiment, recalls the Normandy landings as follows: "As the boat ramp came down, we went waist-deep into the water with 4-foot waves. Some stumbled and drowned, others lost their weapons. We had to walk 180 meters to the shore without cover. There was only one tank next to us, but it was not moving or firing. It was obvious to me that the plan was going wrong. To my right I saw a boat on fire, while I continued walking between the tide and the remains of ships. When I reached the shore, I tried to run, but my pants were full of water and the extra weight made me collapse on the sand. Luckily a bomb had caused a fire on the vegetation, and the smoke covered me and prevented me from being killed. Another soldier describes the experience of watching his comrades die this way. The first man I saw fall was one who was running along the beach towards the enemy. He looked tired, like he was hauling a lot of baggage, and that's when he got shot and fell into a puddle. The water turned red. One of our doctors went to help him, but the Germans shot him. I wanted to help them, but I knew that if I got close they would shoot me too. Despite everything, I kept going. I had no other choice. There was nowhere to retreat. We could only move forward. Captain Edward McGregor of the 1st American Infantry Regiment tells of his attempt to capture a German position. My unit suffered heavy casualties, and at least one officer was killed near me after stepping on a mine. We reached a cliff and tried to advance, but in front of us there was a German bunker, and they fired at us with machine guns every time we wanted to move. We had no way of communicating with the destroyer ship behind us, because its crew had died 5 minutes after landing. Me and my men planned an assault on the bunker. I offered to go ahead, but just before leaving, the bunker was demolished by an explosion. That was the work of another destroyer, which came to our aid and shot it down with its guns. Meanwhile, Captain Joseph Dawson of the 16th Infantry Regiment could not believe the carnage unfolding before his eyes. These are his words about it. The beach was plunged into absolute chaos, the bodies were scattered everywhere, there were wounded crying, both in the water and on the sand. We had almost no way to protect ourselves from the German fire, and the few who advanced as if they were not afraid were killed instantly. On the coast there was a strange sound, like a swarm of bees, because of the shooting. You could hear the bullets impacting and cutting through the air. Ray Lambert, a paramedic who was present at the battle, agrees that the sound was one of the worst things about the fighting. The noise of war does more than deafen you. It's worse than a psychological shock, because you feel how it hits you right in the chest, shaking your bones and making your organs vibrate. You feel that the noise is inside you, like a parasite trying to escape from your skin. That June 6, 1944, the Allies did not achieve their objective of completely capturing the coast, but they were able to establish some precarious beachheads. In the days that followed, they secured their position and continued their advance into French territory. The end of the Third Reich had begun. We have reached the end of the video and we want to ask you, what was the most impressive thing about the Battle of Normandy? Leave us your answer in the comment box below and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to learn about many more military events that left their mark on history.